Okay, so it looks like we're good to go.
Yep.
Is it a yes or a no?
I think it's a yes.
Right on. I'm seeing nods around the table, so I will call this meeting of the Community Center Select Steering Committee meeting for Thursday, June 27th, 2024 to order. And the first item is I will look to Steph for the addition of any late items today.
I do not. Are there reports from any staff that I don't know about? No, nothing for me.
Okay, seeing none, I will look for a motion that the agenda for the Community Center Select Steering Committee be adopted, moved by Judy, seconded by Jillian. All in favor, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Moving on to public comments. Do we have any public comments today, Steph?
Nope.
Okay, great. And right into 4.1, a construction update from our CAO. Over to you, Leah.
We have to do the minutes.
My apologies. My brain is obviously fuzzy today, so I will look for a motion that the minutes of the Community Center Select Steering Committee be adopted, moved by Councillor Getty, seconded by Kristen with her hand up, right on. I'll call the question. All in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, that carries. No public comments. Now moving on to updates in 4.1, the construction update from our CAO.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. And so, as you all can see from the outside of the building, there has been some further progress on the roofing and cladding, yet it's not complete. Don't know when the roofing will be complete. They've been focusing a lot on some of the details around the gutters and drainage and elements like that. Once those are completed, then I think they'll be able to finish that off. It shouldn't take too long to wrap that up. Additional work that's happening external to the building is the septic system is being installed at the north end of the property. And so unfortunately, we're going to have to do a little bit of blasting to get one of the bigger of two tanks into the proper elevation so that it's effectively buried. And, you know, that's the nature of construction on Bowen. You inevitably run into Bowen itself, and we need to make the hole bigger. There is also additional work being prepped for some of the entrance driveway and the roundabout that's going to be part of that entrance driveway. And once those elements are prepped, then I think we're going to see also some of the hardscaping work go forward in earnest in the back of the building, like the patio area. My understanding is that they're waiting for some of that cladding work and the finishing of the roofing to be completed before they get in the back and start putting down sand and then putting down patio pavers and stone pavers, which will be really exciting. And then we can really start to see the exterior of the building starting to come into the shape and form that we want it to. On the interior, that's all happening. You can really see the form and shape. A lot of the millwork is in place, and they're right now focusing in on some of the final flooring elements. So in what we're calling the flex room, there's like floor leveling happening, and they're starting to prep the large multi-purpose room, which we're calling the theater now, for the seating to go in. And once that seating goes in, that's gonna be pretty exciting. So on the inside of the building is a real hive of activity, and you can really start to see how the building will operate from a sort of a physical space perspective. We have a scheduled meeting coming up with the builder, which will give us more clarity on project completion timeline. Currently, the builder is saying that they're trying hard to hold to the July 19th handover date. However, when you look at the building site, it's hard to imagine that everything will get done and wrapped up in that time frame, which is just about 3 weeks away. So, but we'll have a better sense of what that schedule looks like in the next week or so. And I'll leave it at that to see if Jillian or Lee have anything that they wanted to add in terms of updates.
No, I think that covers most of it.
Any questions from committee members?
Oh, you're muted, Judy.
Just fingers crossed.
Yeah, with any luck and wish and a prayer, we will be open for the fall and doing business in there. That'll be fantastic.
I booked my first meeting in the small multi-purpose room.
You did?
Yeah,
Oh,
Kat sent around a thing for some training.
oh, interesting. Okay.
Okay,
All
great.
right. So that's it for the update.
And then moving on to 4.2, a fundraising update from our Manager of Recreation and Community Services.
Thank you. I will share my screen, and this is to show you what you saw in the agenda package. So I've been working with Cornerstone, the firm that we've engaged to work on the donor wall. So I'm doing all the work that we need to do to ensure that the donor wall is installed as soon as the building is done, so that we're not waiting for that in order to have an opening event. So we've triple checked every name on this list and triple checked the spelling and gone back to the donors and confirmed what they want to have written on it. So what we're seeing here is the final proof from Cornerstone that after this meeting, I hope to give them the final okay, good to go. We've also had confirmation with the BC government on appropriate use of their logo. So just wanted to go through these slides again to show you, and if there are any questions to talk through. So this one just gives a little bit of a scale. So this is a substantially sized heron that we'll see on the wall here, but I think it'll be a really interesting visual piece, not just serving the function of recognizing donors, but it's a nice visual in that space, aligned with the color and in the nearby elements of the building. So in the third one is just a close-up of that one panel, the statement panel, though we all worked on the language of that. So hoping that everybody's happy with how this is looking, and we can say, go, press print to them. They've been an amazing company to work with, and I think they're really going above and beyond in creating this for us for the price of $16,000 for design and install. So it's a good deal. It's a multi-dimensional feature that it will be really pretty in space. Questions on that?
Not seeing any around the table.
Okay,
I like it. I think it looks good.
great. Yeah. Thank you.
Great. And was there a separate item here on any additional pieces on the weight room funding?
Yes, that's just a wonderful piece of news that I'm now able to share. So I don't know if you noticed on that donor wall, one of the logos written in the corner was for the BC Alliance for Healthy Living Society. And so back in February, the Recreation Department submitted a grant application to the Healthy Communities Grant program administered by this organization. It's funding from the BC Ministry of Health. And we received $50,000 for the weight room because, as you probably all recall, the plan is to take the existing equipment that we have and put it in this new space. So we were able to sort of leverage that position that we're building this amazing new facility for our community, our first ever community center, and we're taking our aging equipment with us. So essentially the grant is essentially threefold. So it's about getting in new equipment. It's about, before we acquire new equipment, working with stakeholders on the island who are not necessarily engaged in using these spaces. So for example, I've spoken a little bit with the accessibility committee about what do we need in this space to make it a more inclusive space for some members of the community. The goal is to make this space a wonderful community gym that is serving the community need at the level that is not in competition with our other businesses on the island, but it's providing that inclusive, safe space for people. So working with target populations, such as seniors, how offering women's only training, youth trainings, and really empowering our staff and instructors on learning adaptive strategies for using equipment and really building their capacity to teach in this space for to create this inclusive weight room opportunity for our community. So that's very exciting news, and I'm happy to share with everybody here that we can do that. So, and we'll be able to use some of that funding to build out some of the storage infrastructure in that space that we're lacking as well. So
That's wonderful. Well done.
Thanks.
Great news. Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the committee before we move on?
How are the chairs going with the, we had to change where the plaque went or something? Is that all working out?
It is. We're actually still waiting for some component pieces from the chair company, but it looks like we're able to put the plaque where we originally had intended to do it, on the bottom of the seat pan. So when the seat is flipped up, the names, the number of the seat and the donor is right there, and then it's sat down. So we are still waiting for those pieces, but hopefully any moment now they'll come in so we can get them engraved and installed.
Nice.
Right on. Thank you for the update, Julian.
Mhm.
And moving on to 4.3, an update from the Community Center Joint Management Committee. Over to you, Councillor Getty.
Okay. We set up the Joint Management Committee in January of 21 with the MOU. We had our first meeting quite a bit later in September of 23. We started with orientation, and the next meeting in October, we did set up some subcommittees. And we continued setting up that we started cost rates and fee structure and a management model. We identified other committees, subcommittees that we wanted to work with, but we left that until the next meeting. In November, we set up a vision and core values and principles and categories of use. We were provided with a list of tasks and a draft management model where we started talking about users and areas and staff positions that might be necessary. In January of this year, Lee Vincent had been hired, and I've done a lot of the work on a later committee in terms of policy review. And I just want to say to anybody that nobody's allowed to ever piss this guy off, because he's really, really good, and we want to keep him as long as possible. So there you go, Lee. So January, Lee comes in, and I'm heading up the vision and core values group, and we offer in January our 5th version of that, and we start talking about a position with respect to the programming for cultural and arts, and we've done some investigation about endowment funding in terms of having a baseline for that. We don't meet again until April, and we come up with a policy list. Lee has created a list of about 14 different policies that might be necessary for the building, and we decide that we're going to focus on 4 in terms of developing some policy that is for the wider community. The Hearth has, by that time, has made an application to BC Arts with respect to funding the arts and cultural position. We meet again in May, and we have a draft of acceptable use, accessibility, rental. We come up with vision version 9 of the vision statement. And that gets accepted at that meeting. And that's part of the package that is ready to go to council. We're trying to get everything ready so that it goes into the July 8th meeting. We're still working on rates and management model, and we develop a new subcommittee for programs and curation and a policy review. It's really, this is an enormous amount of volunteer work. We thought we would be meeting once every 2 weeks. It works out that it's really difficult to meet once a month. And so we break down into even smaller groups. There's 4 of us on the policy review committee, but in fact, it was Lee and myself, and Lee did the bulk of the work on that. So it's just in terms of people's availability and the workloads, but it's getting done. So we go through and review everything on June the 11th. We decide that we have to have it finalized and ready to go by June the 25th in order to get it onto the agendas and through this committee. And so we have another meeting on June the 25th, and we passed a bunch of resolutions in terms of things we're ready to go. So somewhere along the line, we've got policies and process, rental policy, rates, vision, acceptable use behavior, and accessibility all ready to go. And we've done that in 8 months. And I think that is phenomenal. And it's been a very, very interesting exercise. I think people have had very clear and opinionated discussions, but it's all gone really, really smoothly. So we're putting it on the table. We're hoping it's acceptable, and everybody needs to know that there's been a huge amount of background, and people are going to be there for the July 8th meeting to answer as many questions as possible. And yeah, that group is starting well.
Thank you for that update, Judy. I know that it's going to be a significant package that comes to us on July 8th. So my thanks to you and the committee and to Lee for supporting that work. With that, I'll look to the committee for any questions of Councillor Getty. Not seeing any, we will move on to new business. An item here is under 5.2. Can I have someone move the recommendation to move to a closed meeting, please?
I'll move that.
So moved by Liam, seconded by Councillor Getty. I'll call the question. All in favor, raise your hand, say aye.
Right?
Aye. That passes.